I've always believed that life becomes the strangest right when you think you finally understand it. At 69 years old, I thought I had already experienced my share of shocks: losing my husband, raising my son alone, working 2 jobs, surviving on instant coffee and stubbornness, but nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for the day my daughter-in-law, Vanessa, smiled across the polished marble island in her designer kitchen and casually asked, "So, Mary, how do you spend your $3,300,000 trust fund?" I swear the room went silent. Even the refrigerator hummed louder, as if it couldn't believe what it had heard. I blinked, confused. "What trust fund?" I asked. She tilted her head with that sweep up poisoned smile only rich people who've never struggled a day in their life can pull off effortlessly. "Oh, come on," she laughed lightly, tapping her diamond ring against her champagne glass. "You don't have to hide it. I mean, only someone with millions sits so comfortably retired." I laughed. Then I stopped laughing. Then I stared. Because she wasn't joking. She wasn't teasing. She was dead serious. And that was the moment, that exact moment, when something inside me shifted. Something cold. Something calculating. Something sharp. I didn't know what this trust fund nonsense was about, but I knew one thing instantly: my daughter-in-law knew something I didn't. And she wasn't supposed to know anything about my finances at all. But to understand how we reached this strange conversation, I need to tell you a bit about Vanessa. She was 27 when she married my son, Daniel. Beautiful, wealthy from her own parents, always impeccably dressed like she was auditioning for a magazine cover. To be clear, I never disliked her. In the beginning, she was polite, friendly, chatty, even brought me flowers on my birthday. But polite rich people are often polite the way one might talk to a cute dog: affection without respect. Warmth without substance. And gradually, as years passed, her mask slipped. She began correcting how I spoke. Criticizing my clothes. Making subtle comments about old-fashioned people. Suggesting I move into a more suitable living space instead of my modest house. But I tolerated it. For my son's sake. For my peace. For the sake of avoiding fights I was too tired to engage in. Still, nothing about Vanessa prepared me for learning that apparently, I had a multi-million-dollar trust fund that I myself did not know existed. I stared at her from across the kitchen island, but my eyes drifted to my son. Daniel didn't look surprised. Not even confused. He tried to hide it, but something flickered in his eyes, a tiny spark of guilt. My voice cracked slightly. "What trust fund are you talking about?" I repeated. Vanessa laughed like I was adorable. "The one your husband left you, of course." My heart stopped. My husband, Paul, died 12 years ago after a long illness. He was a kind, hard-working man. A man who worked in logistics, who loved old jazz records, who made the best omelets I've ever tasted. A man who, when he died, left me a small insurance policy and a mountain of memories. Not $3 million. Not even close. I shook my head. No. Paul didn't leave me a trust fund. We didn't have that kind of money. Vanessa exchanged a glance with Daniel. That glance, barely half a second, confirmed something far more terrifying than any amount of money. They knew something. They knew something big. And they had been expecting me to know it too. My son finally spoke softly. "Mom. Maybe you should sit down." My body felt suddenly shaky, so I did. Vanessa strode over gracefully in her heels and placed her manicured hand on my shoulder. "Mary," she began as though she were explaining taxes to a child, "your husband left you a trust fund. $3.3 million. Set aside for you. It's been growing for years. Surely you've been receiving the quarterly summaries?" I felt dizzy. "No. I haven't received anything." She frowned. "Well. Someone has." That was when I felt the hair rise on the back of my neck. Someone has? Who? Was someone receiving my mail, my statements? My funds? My son cleared his throat, avoiding my eyes. Mom, maybe we should talk in private. But I didn't move. No, I said firmly. We'll talk right here. Vanessa raised her eyebrows, intrigued by the drama, clearly loving it. Well, she said slowly, that explains why you've never contributed. Now that made me snap my head up. Contributed to what? I asked. And then she said it. The words that ignited the fire that would lead to the biggest revenge of my life, to the household expenses. Daniel and I assumed you had millions, like, literally millions. But now I realize. Maybe you were just hiding it. That did it. Something inside me clicked, like a lock opening on a door I didn't know existed within me. She wasn't confused. She wasn't mistaken. She was accusing me. Of lying. Of hiding. Of freeloading. I felt my chest burn. Who told you I had a trust fund? I demanded. The room froze. My son finally sighed. Mom. I didn't want to tell you like this. But Dad set up a trust. For you. And for me. But it was supposed to unlock when you turned 70. Vanessa found the paperwork a few months ago. She thought you already knew. Silence. A trust fund? For me? For Daniel? Money my husband had saved and never told me about, money meant for me after a lifetime of struggle, and now my daughter-in-law, who had never worked a day in her life and treated me like a burden, had found the documents and apparently had been waiting for this moment to confront me. I felt anger like I had never felt before. But beneath the anger was something much stronger, fear. Because suddenly, everything made sense. The way my mail had occasionally gone missing. Be the keys to my house that my son had borrowed and never returned. Be the accidental address change notifications I had ignored. The sudden concern Vanessa had shown about my will. They weren't just curious about my finances. They wanted my money. The money I didn't even know existed yet. And they had been planning something. Something behind my back. Something big. When I finally spoke, my voice was cold as steel. Where are the documents? My son swallowed. In our safe. I can show you. Vanessa folded her arms. Oh, don't act dramatic, Mary. It's not like we stole anything. Your family. It's all ours anyway. That sentence sealed her fate. Ours. Not yours. Not even mine. But ours. In her mind, my husband's hard-earned money already belonged to them. That was the moment I knew, I needed to outsmart them. Quietly. Calmly. Completely. And so began the greatest revenge of my life. That night, I went home, shaking with anger and betrayal. I searched through everything Paul had left me, old folders, dusty envelopes, a fireproof box, but found nothing about a trust. Nothing at all. Which only confirmed one thing, they had taken the papers. They had kept me in the dark. They had been planning. Probably waiting for me to turn 70 so they could pressure me to sign something. Something that would transfer management, or streamline access, or some other fancy phrase rich manipulators use to trick elderly women out of their money. They thought I was old. Weak. Easy to confuse. They were wrong. Dead wrong. I might be old, but I am not stupid. And I wasn't going to let them steal a single penny Paul meant for me. So I planned. Slowly. Quietly. Strategically. Step 1, I needed proof of the trust. And to get that, I needed access to their safe. Step 2, I needed a lawyer. One who specialized in fraud, elder exploitation, and trust recovery. Step 3, I needed to play dumb. Pretend I didn't know anything. Pretend I wasn't suspicious. Pretend everything was normal. Because the only way to catch snakes is to let them think you're blind. For 2 months, I played the role perfectly. I visited casually. I made small talk. I laughed at Vanessa's stories. I let her brag about her new handbags and her expensive vacations and her luxury spa appointments. I pretended to believe Daniel when he said the mailman must have messed up again whenever something addressed to me wasn't delivered. I acted harmless. Insignificant. A confused old woman. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, I hired a private investigator. I asked my lawyer to discreetly check if a trust existed under my name or Paul's. And when the results came back, everything became clear. Paul had set up a trust fund, $3.3 million, split between two beneficiaries, me and Daniel. But the trust was designed to activate only after I turned 70, giving me lifetime access first, and Daniel receiving the remainder after my death. It was meant to protect me. To give me dignity in old age. But those two. They had tampered with the mailing address. Rerouted statements. Monitored everything. Waiting like vultures for their moment. But they didn't know the law was on my side. And they didn't know I planned to use it against them. The day everything came to a head was the day Vanessa accidentally revealed my son's secret. They had already spent money, trust money, believing I would never find out. That was their fatal mistake. When I arrived at their house, I was calm. Collected. Almost cheerful. Vanessa offered me coffee. My son kissed my cheek. They thought they had won. But I wasn't there to chat. I was there to destroy. Daniel, I said softly, could you show me the trust documents? I want to understand them better. He hesitated for a moment, then agreed. Vanessa followed us upstairs, arms crossed smugly, clearly thinking I had surrendered. He opened the safe. I memorized everything inside, documents, folders, envelopes. But I didn't touch anything. Instead, I stepped back and said, thank you. Now close the safe. He looked confused. Why? Because, I said, my voice steady, the police will want it sealed. His face turned white. Before they could react, I pulled out the folder my lawyer prepared, a court order for immediate seizure and audit of all trust-related documents due to suspected fraud. Vanessa sputtered. You can't do that. Oh, but I can, I said. And I already have. Within 30 minutes, officers arrived. They seized the documents. They examined the safe. They questioned my son. They questioned Vanessa. And for the first time in years, I saw real fear in Vanessa's eyes. But I wasn't finished. I told them everything. The missing mail. The rerouted statements. The withholding of documents. The attempt to manipulate my finances. The investigation uncovered enough wrongdoing to remove Daniel as a secondary trustee entirely. And Vanessa? Well, she wasn't spared either. Because she had forged my signature on 2 documents, an attempt to access early disbursements. Forgery is a crime. A very serious one. I didn't press additional charges because I still loved my son, even if he had betrayed me. But the consequences were unavoidable. The trust was secured under court supervision. The fraud attempt was documented. Vanessa was banned legally from managing or influencing any of my financial affairs. And the best part? The court awarded me early access to the entire trust due to the attempted exploitation. $3.3 million. All under my name. Full control. My son would get nothing until I passed away, and even then, only if he proved in court that he had reformed and had not benefited from any financial wrongdoing. As for Vanessa? She divorced my son within 6 months after learning she wouldn't be inheriting millions anytime soon. Apparently, love means less when money evaporates. My son moved in with a friend, broke, ashamed, and alone. I didn't hate him. But betrayal has a price. And forgiveness is not free. 6 months later, after a long, emotional conversation, I agreed to help him rebuild his life, but only if he earned my trust again. Vanessa, on the other hand, lost everything she gambled for. And me? Well, I bought myself a beautiful seaside cottage. I hired a gardener, a housekeeper, and a part-time driver. I travel twice a year. I drink good coffee, not instant. I sit on my porch in the evenings, listening to the waves, knowing I protected what my husband left for me. Not through anger. Not through violence. But through calm, calculated revenge. And every now and then, I laugh to myself remembering the moment Vanessa smiled smugly and asked, "So, Mary, how do you spend your $3.3 million trust fund?" "Well, Vanessa, now you know. And you'll never touch a single penny of it." So that's the story of how my rich daughter-in-law tried to outsmart a weak old lady. And learned the hard way that age does not equal stupidity. If you enjoyed hearing how I uncovered the truth, protected my husband's legacy, and delivered karma in the most satisfying way possible, make sure you stick around, because life keeps throwing stories at me, and I've still got plenty of fire left in me. Until next time. Stay sharp, stay strong, and never let anyone take what's yours.